Heard that, right?
I won't say that, but
We've heard that. We've heard black women. That's the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers say different. We've heard black women. You're the most educated. We've heard that, right?
I won't say that, but
We've heard that. We've heard black women are most educated. You're the most enrolled. See, we play slick and loose when we start. Let me say something. Set the table. A man's past or a woman's past or her story is used to mythologize. A man's past or his story is typically used to demonize. Black man past or his story is typically used to villainize you.
Yeah.
So we can say women are doing this, women are doing that. Okay, then let's take that. Women are killing it. I accept your premise. They're killing it. They're out here entrepreneurs. They're business people. They're moving and shaking. City girls summer, blah, blah. Why are 1 in 4 of you on some sort of psych med? Why is the weight of the typical woman up? And why are more women today the most free, the most liberated, the most educated, the more anything else, the least happy of any woman has ever existed?
I
can't speak to their happiness.
Because they're not because the things that typically make women happy are relationships. Indeed. They've calibrated. They're the social of the two, and many women have all the things that on paper are supposed to make you happy, but they don't have the relationship or the family. And that is where this is all falling apart. I mean, you got to think about it. If I was not saying something to make sense, why do I have anywhere from 20 to 30,000 people watching consistently, even with the women being so angry? Because what they're recognizing is something is missing. When I used to have my MIT, my men in training seminars, I would say, guys, the first thing I would do is take them to a city overlooking downtown. I'd say, gentlemen, life happens out there. Number 2 word, life is about people. Life is about relationships. And one thing this coronavirus pandemic showed to women in general, unfortunately black women in particular, is when you shut the world down, you shut it down, you could not go to work. Many women had to look to the left, to the right, to the front and back, and there was nobody there. No husband, no kids, no family, no network. They're just sitting there. And that gave them a glimpse into their possible future. All things being equal, if you keep living the way you're living, this is what it's going to end up being. And it panicked people for the first time because it took an act of God to actually start this conversation. That's when my podcast started picking up because for the first time, men and women were at home. Men have always known this.
Let me tell you, just not to interrupt.
Can I get some applause?
As someone,
I need some applause.
As someone whose podcast was rocking before the pandemic, boy, was I mad at all you new flourishing podcasts. Get out of here.
Yo.
But yeah, I will hit the round of applause.
Listen to what he just said.
I will. Let me hit the round of applause like you asked. I'm scared to fucking...
No, it took an act of God for somebody to now do some soul searching.
But won't it always?
Yeah, but again, for women that are speaking against him, right? The corporate movers and shakers.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's a certain kind of woman is loud. It's typically college educated,
yes,
mid-30s. And they realize that I'm Generation X. I say we were lied to. We were sold a bill of goods. I talked about how Cosmopolitan magazine marketed a lifestyle to women. They wanted to be the Playboy of women. I did a broadcast about that 2 months ago, talking about the book Subverted, how they openly admit that we lied to a generation of women just to sell you products. I don't begrudge us for how we got here, but we got to acknowledge if 1 out of 4 of you in our community, if 1 out of 4 women will marry anybody, black women will marry anybody, that means 3 out of 4 of you will die unmarried. That matters once you are past hot girl summer and once you pass your earning potential. Once all that stuff is gone, then what? And see, that's what started to happen. And it's all been conversation until that. If you went to the grocery store in March of 2020, the first time I'd ever seen fear in women's eyes is when they were there. Because what I tended to see in Atlanta, in the grocery store, I tended to see a lot of guys. But unfortunately, when I saw a black woman, I tended to see her there, no ring on, and panicking, no water, no toilet paper. I'm like, this is like the real live Book of Eli, Walking Dead. This is what it looks like when the world that men built that you don't need stops running. And I don't just talk about things from just the look standpoint and this and that. I say, okay, many women don't really understand what they need a man for outside of provision and sex. But the pandemic showed that, you know what? Having somebody to the right of you to help for many other things is valuable. That's why this show is kind of picked up. Now, who are the women that typically are upset? One, the women who typically know they're not trying to be anywhere other than a partner. The word submission is a curse word. The word, it's all these newfangled things. The women who tend to be making more than the average woman who actually thinks being with a man limits her versus frees her up. I'm like, all right. And the net of it, I ask all women, even women who say don't like me, are they coming into interactions with men in good faith? Or is they already coming in thinking that something's going to go wrong? Or are they coming in with fear and scarcity and lack in their mentality? Is there any hope when you deal with a man? Or is it always, I want a man who's this whole laundry list of stuff to where he's having to deal with issues, traumas, things that you've not resolved in your past, and you take that to the next man and you say, all right, then what is he going to get in exchange for that? Me.
See, I just think that everything he just said is applicable to
both.
Yeah,
it is.
I agree.
It is.
That's
I
all.
agree with that.
I'm
It
totally
is
with him.
definitely.
Like, listen, a lot of my favorite restaurants, they didn't make it out the pandemic. They didn't make a lot of my homies and what they did. I was blessed that I was in a field where we were thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, people was fucked up out there. So I saw panic in the street. I heard panic when my peoples was on the phone.
From both.
Right? Listen, I went on the internet and gave my money away.
I believe you, but what he's saying is for these independent thinkers, quote unquote, that always tout that they don't need a man. I don't need no man for this. I don't need no man for that. God just showed you. Yes, you do.
Well, see, the difference
did they
is,
really need him?
The difference is,
yes.
The difference is men have always understood that ain't nobody coming to save you. There ain't nobody coming to save you. The world doesn't care about your problems because all you got to do to see what happens to a man who's been on Wall Street and now he's living in the park. We know that can happen to us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Women of any society have been shielded from the harshness of the world. Well, when you can't continue to shield women from that, then they have to start dealing with it. You as a man know if I'm driving a car, I got to be able to handle what happens with coming with this. Most women just think I'll just call somebody.
I can bet.
Something's going to happen. And so what does that mean? What does that mean?
Could just call somebody.
that's what I'm gonna
say. What's wrong with that?
We don't have
Watch
that
this.
luxury.
No, watch this.
Well,
but
let
that
me
comes
fin-
with a
the
certain
point-
realization.
Well, let me finish.
The point I'm getting to is that men of a society have always known if you can't produce a cover for yourself, the streets or the park is for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Women don't. They will make a demand of society. Go to Korea, go to Japan. Those are two countries that are dying. Their population is aging out. People are being found living in their places dead for 3 or 4 days. It's called kodokoshi. They gave it a name because the people under 35 are not marrying and dating. But here's the thing. You have women who are pet groomers, florists, teachers. That's not rich money. But they make demands of society. I told a story the other day. When I was broke in school, I had to sell a textbook. I had to go without, tighten your belt. Men talk about, we talk about how broke we was, eating sardines for dinner and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Cup of noodles.
You didn't want no sardine smoke with me.
But when I actually started dating a woman who was in another school, she was eating well, shrimp, crab, lobster, and everything else. I'm like, where you getting all this money? Are you broke? Food stamps. He's like, I'm a college student. I can qualify for food stamps. That never would have crossed my mind to go get food stamps. Because men accept, if I don't have it, I don't get it. Women have been shown that if I don't have it, someone will do it for me.
I could do what for it.
And it's like, I had a program where I asked a woman, and she's like, no, I was talking about survival. And and for the women who think I'm full of shit, go do this. Go to Amazon Prime. Go watch Bear Grylls